Hi there folks, welcome to RRTV's live coverage of the world's fastest gamer qualifiers, and this is the Australian-New Zealand split coming to you live from Interlagos for the final round, and your commentary team tonight is Bernie Wiemers and Alex McKellar. Welcome Alex.
G'day Bernie, g'day everyone at home. Thanks Bernie, it's great to be here once again for the final round of the world's fastest gamer. Quite a modest field here tonight at this great circuit. I'll tell you what Bernie, these cars are so quick, they make this track look so small. They get around here in just over a minute. Minute 12 is Steve Jansen's current provisional pole sitting time, and I tell you what, like I said, they make this track look very small, but they zip around here and it's quite exciting to watch at the same time.
Yeah, they certainly do, and we'll just have a look at the points as they stand. Let's try and find them first. Where are they? My goodness me, what a mess. Okay, let's have a look. No. Alright, I'm not going to bring up the points, but basically folks, Davy Decour from France, he's leading. His total is 1,005 points, Alex. He's a pro driver, 4.53 is his licence score. He's leading by, it'll be over 180 points back to Freak Zohost from Benelux. In third at the moment in the standings is Jamie Fluke from UK and Ireland on 690 points. Michael Partington on 684 points, and rounding out your top five standings of this series is Zoran Jonchik from Central Eastern Europe on 591 points. But I must say, Alex, Davy Decour from France, he looks like he is in a very high chance of winning the invitation to the world's fastest gamer finals at this point.
Yeah, well, look, the other guys behind him, second and third, well, actually the balance of the top five, actually have a race in hand. David Decour's done 4 races. I suggest Freak Schothhurst, I'm sorry, I'm really butchering his name. Freak, he has a chance of taking it out. He needs 180 points, which is very doable in a high-strength field. If he gets a good result. So other than that, Jamie Fluke on 690, he's really out of it. So you've got to suggest that both Freak and Davy Decour, they're the two that are fighting this out for this coveted prize of a McLaren Sim Test Driver. So that's the prize that these guys are all out here competing for tonight, folks. They get a spot with a genuine F1 team to be their simulation driver. They get a 12-month contract. So those two, it looks like they're the ones who are probably fighting it out tooth and nail this weekend.
That's right, and basically once they, whoever wins, they go into the finals. That's when the work really starts. They will be joined by a lot of other top sim racers from many different platforms from around the world, and I think there's 10 spots. They're going to have to then go through a grueling process, just like GT Academy, where they'll be put through a lot of different driving exercises. They'll have to do reflex exercises, present themselves to a panel to see how they'll present themselves to the media, and so on and so forth. So it's going to be very exciting out of those 10 who actually gets that contract to be the simulator driver for McLaren. But this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for a lot of these guys, that's for sure. But we're in qualifying at the moment, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. Miguel Villalobos. Again, apologies, Miguel, if I've pronounced your name incorrectly. He's the final one out on track at the moment, fighting for that opportunity. Bernie, you're right. This sort of stuff that they're going to have to go through, it really represents, the professionalism. It's a wonderful marketing exercise, but it's actually a genuine thing. The role of a sports person these days, a professional sports person, is that of a media personality, a heightened professional, an athlete, and all those things combined. You've got to have a high intelligence factor both on and off the track, and that now flowing over into esports, and this is a really good representation of what the modern athlete may well look like. Someone who's got great, all those things rolled up that your traditional athletes have, plus the ability to drive one of these around a track lightning fast, Bernie. So, it's all out here to play for tonight, and really looking forward to seeing what these guys have to show us.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting, isn't it? And looking at the track temperature out there tonight, folks, it's a scorcher. 40 degrees Celsius or 104 degrees Fahrenheit, depending where you are in the world. And it's partly cloudy, so it's going to be a hot one. And we'll see how the guys go. They're going to be gridding up very, very shortly. So I'm thinking let's go through the grid very quickly. So Stefan Schmidt from France, he'll start from pole position. His time was a 1:12.423. Steve Jansen will start beside him out of second. In row 2 will be R. Muhammad Alif, followed by Neil Andrews. Tim Hendrickson starting out of 5th tonight, with Anders Brathog out of 6th position. Out of 7th we've got Raminho Soers, and Hakon Grebstad will start out of 8th. Miguel Villabos out of 9th, with Jan Brezina out of 10th, and running out your field of 11 is Pedro Martinez Quill.
If you can see this run down to the first corner, Bernie, that's where all the action could potentially take place before this field no doubt spreads out a little bit. Just the 11 cars taking the grid tonight. Expect to see a few gaps in the field, but interesting to see a couple of the guys that have been here week in, week out with us, Bernie and Stefan Schmidt and Neil Andrews, a bit further down the grid than I was expecting to see Neil tonight. Interesting to see how they stack up against this the rest of this field tonight, whether they can make their way to the front as they have done in previous weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? And we're just waiting for the final drivers to come onto the grid. We're waiting on Jean Brezina, Miguel Villabos and Pedro Martinez Quill. Hope I pronounced that right. I'm not very good with these complicated names, but anyway, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, just our pole sitter remaining. Interesting once again, Bernie. We've got a big spread of licence classes all through the spectrum. No pro drivers here tonight, with the one exception. Everyone else, though, A through to D. So we're missing either end of the spectrum, I should say, pros and rookies tonight, but everyone else well represented.
Yeah, it should be an exciting race, though, and we're just waiting now. We're under starters orders here, folks, so we're about to get started. Revs are rising here at Interlagos for round 4 of the World's Fastest Gamer qualifier, and we are away. So nice clean start so far, but hold on to your hats, folks. They have to come down through the centre S's, but the field well spread out already. Tim Hendrickson involved in a big one, and we can hear cars going off everywhere down there. It's claimed 3 cars at the moment and 4 cars, so we'll jump back and have a quick look at that replay once things settle down. But at the moment, Stefan Schmidt is taking the lead. We've got Steve Jansen second, third, Neil Andrews. Then we've got Hakon Grebstad. He's sitting in 4th, and rounding out your top 5 is Anders Brathog. And it must be said, that incident has spread the field out quite a lot, Alex.
Yeah, I was expecting it to spread out, but not that quickly. Unfortunately, Tim Hendrickson, he I don't know if he missed a brake marker or he's just poorly anticipated that one. Shame for the Flying Dutchman and those around him in that instance, Birdie. And then a bit further down the track, as he's gone to get back onto the gas, the Thunderfoot's come out for Pedro and he's looped it, unfortunately. He got through the incident clearly enough, but he's then just looped it heading on the way down to turn 2. But everyone looks to have got underway okay, not too much by way of damage, Bernie, but they're certainly spread out, as you said.
Yeah, there'll definitely be one car with a lot of damage. I saw him get airborne from that hit. But yeah, Tim Hendrickson there outbraked himself and has caused a bit of carnage. That car, there's another big one. And Jean Brezina comes out of the pits and he's hit someone pretty hard, and that's the end of his race.
Oh, I might have missed that one, Bernie. I might be a bit behind. Unfortunately, he's down in the pits now. I missed the coming out of the pits incident, though. Did you pick up who that was? I see John in the pits, but who was it that came out of the pits?
No, he wasn't in the pits, sorry. He was coming out of the centre S's there, and I'm just having a look at it live now. He actually got into Not sure who that was, but he lost his steering and straight into the wall, and that was the end of his race, basically. I'm just not sure who he got into.
Yeah, I'm looking at Ramiro Soares, Jan Brazil, as he was rounding the turn 3 there out of the centre S's. He was coming around. I don't think he's actually made contact. I'm looking for net code. There may have been the faintest of touches on Ramiro Soares, but if I'm not mistaken, Ramino's possibly just got a bit on the gas, and I can tell you can actually lose the rear end under power on these cars in 4th gear, at least. I have done so in the past, and that's I'm not sure if that was a netcode touch or whether or not Ramino has done that all on his own. Then it'd be hard to say, but yeah, he's certainly driving a very crab-like car at this stage.
Yeah, both of them are in the pits at the moment, folks, having a race for the world's longest pit stop, but once they get fixed, hopefully they'll come back out. Meanwhile, up front, we've got Stefan Schmidt leading Steve Jansen. The gap is 0.6 of a second, and the race is on for first second. Neil Andrews, he's dropped off a little bit, 1.3 seconds down at the moment from Steve Jansen, and then we've got a massive gap, haven't we, back to Håkon Grebstad in the beautiful Ferrari livery, 5.2 seconds down, and he's joined with Anders Brahov trying to catch him. And then looking further back, there's not a lot of racing going on. Well, I guess there is. We've got Tim Hendrickson and Miguel here having a battle for 7th and 8th.
Interesting, Steve Jansen now poking his nose up the inside of turn 1, Bernie. The first use of DRS, he was inside the zone there through the detection point, and then he activated it through the activation zone, and it really, in a short space of time, brought him right up onto the tail and almost having a look up the inside of turn 1 of Stefan Schmidt as they run out the front straight now into turn 4. Genuine passing opportunity into turn 4 if you can make it work, Bernie, but look, you've got to have your wits about you on this track, Bernie. Like I said, they make this track look very small in these cars with just over a minute 10 per lap, and you know, you've got to really have your wits about you, have your reactions on board, because when an opportunity presents, it's only going to be a fraction of a moment for you to jump on board.
Yeah, exactly right, and we're riding with Steve Jansen at the moment from Australia, New Zealand, Steve is, and we can see the telemetry there. Having a look at our retirements, folks, we've had 2. Pedro Martinez Quill, he's retired, and so has Ramiro Soares after that big incident. Well, actually, he's still in the pits trying to get that repaired, but I don't think we're going to see him anytime soon.
Well, I had to correct you, Bernie, but he's just pulling out a pit lane now. I don't recall if they've got a fast repair with this event or not. I doubt they would, but he's certainly driving a lot straighter than he was last time we saw him. But it might actually bring him. He's just in front of the leaders at the moment, so that's first round of lap traffic already. It'll be interesting to see what comes of that, Bernie.
Yeah, well, I do understand it's a 17 incident limit and 1 fast repair they get. And, of course, as far as DRS goes, we know they've got to be within 1 second at the DRS marker. At the moment, last time by, Steve Jansen was just out of that, and it was 1.058 seconds.
Yeah, he's just under it now. I'm just looking for the detection point, Bernie. He hasn't quite hit it yet, so he's just under that magic 1 second at this stage, as I'm just riding on board with him at the moment. The nice Jansen splashed across the rear spoiler there, Bernie. He's just outside there. Now the activation zone is part way down this final stretch of track here, 12, 13, 14. He's just crossed the line. Yep, the flaps open, Bernie, and he's rapidly approaching. What's he going to pick up in this activation zone? He picked up about 4/10. That gap dropped by 3 or 4/10 there, Bernie, so it's really worth your while sticking in there. He's now just the 6/10, about half a second behind, and there's a second DRS zone on this front straight, Bernie. Let's see how close he gets this time as the flaps open. Again, not really pulling up much more in that zone, perhaps not getting the drive out of the centre S's that he was looking for. Really just maintain that 6/10, or he's coming up now. He's maybe that back marker then spooking Stefan Schmidt a little bit, but he's that's 4 to 6/10 behind, closing up through turn 6 and 7 now, turn 8 and 9, I beg your pardon now, that tight left-hand sequence up into the run up into turn 10. Much closer this time, Steve Jansen, as they go through turn 10, that tight right-hander there. he'll be well within shot this lap, Bernie.
Yeah, certainly will. He's a lot closer, isn't he? And 2 DRS zones is very generous indeed, and they're pretty close. They're only separated by the centre S's here, but we can see him once again coming up, waiting for the DRS. He's got the activation now. He will activate it now, and we're riding with him. Let's see what his top speed is down here. He's reaching around about 240 something kilometres an hour. And then, of course, he'll come through here. He's got the activation again, as we know, and he'll reactivate it. We'll see if we can pull him in.
Just the 4/10 behind this time. Decent run out of the centre S's there. Closes up. Oh, he's right on the tail now. Look, you've got 24 laps here. They're on lap 7 at the moment. You can really start working a strategy. They're going to tick by very, very quickly. Less than half an hour or thereabouts for the race overall. He'll be sussing him out where he wants to have a crack, but the DRS zones really he's using very effectively at the moment to sort of eke away a bit of pressure and try and make something for himself.
Yeah, and having a look at the rest of the field, folks, while we keep an eye on this battle. As we know, Stefan Schmidt is leading Steve Jansen by 0.4 of a second. Neil Andrews, he's down 2.5 seconds. You can see him in the background. And then we have Anders Brahog in 4th, 8.5 seconds down. Mahid Mead at least 5.7 seconds behind Anders. Then we've got Hakon Grebstad in 6th. 7th is Tim Hendrickson. 8th, Miguel Villabos. 9th, Jan Brezina. And rounding out your field is Romino Soares.
Yeah, great to see some of the local Skippy drivers, or the Skippy club members, as you might say, Håkon Grebstad and Tim Hendrickson, coming out to try the big brother of the open wheelers here tonight, Bernie. They're separated by a fair margin after that first opening lap incident that Tim Hendrickson was involved in, of course, but they're out making the most of something different here tonight as the leaders now still battling it out here, just separated by that, just under that magic second mark, Bernie. But interesting to see which one of them is managing their right foot better and will have the most rubber to spend towards the end of the race.
Yeah, that'll be something to keep an eye on, that's for sure. But at the moment, Stefan has this race under control, 0.5 of a second in front. And even though Steve's getting 2 DRS zones, he closes up under the DRS, but then Stefan can pretty much hold him for the rest of that circuit.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know what he's doing with his battery management, because not only if you can use the DRS, some of the other tools at your disposal in this car is about the engine mapping and how you use that supplementary battery that you've got to charge on your lap around, but also you can execute to get an extra boost of horsepower. That flap on the back of Steve Jansen's car open once again, but he's really struggling to keep that gap in and around the half a second mark, sitting around 0.7 at the moment. Now, it might just be, Bernie, that during this phase of the race he is trying to look after his tyres a bit, use those tools to keep in touch rather than his tyres. So it'll be interesting to see what he's got in reserve as the laps tick by, Bernie.
Yeah, we'll see. He's coming in very hot under brakes, and Stefan's entry is a lot slower, but he's getting a better drive out of the mid-corner to the exit of that corner. And I think that's exactly what's keeping Stefan way out there as they come through once again. And these laps are going to tick by very quickly. 16 laps left out of 24. And we'll see what Steve can do this time.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've just been watching the lines in comparison. Stefan Schmidt seeming to take more what you'd call classic lines, using far more of the track. You can see the outside of the outside side of the car, most on the outside of the track, although he's had a poor run there. Steve Jansen will be all over him here, Bernie. DRS activated now. Stefan looking to take a defensive line, but no, holding out Steve Jansen there. Great little tussle developing here, Bernie. But if you watch through some of these corners here, the outside tyres of Steve Jansen now looking on the outside of turn 6. The inside is a real distinct possibility there. The run into turn 8, this tight right-hander here, Bernie. You've seen in the Skippies season after season, guys setting up those 3 corners to make a pass there. It's a classic passing opportunity there. But what I've been trying to say is, even here, see how much narrow on the inside Steve Jansen is. Stefan Schmidt going right out to the far left of that right-hander entry. the entry to that right-hander, I should say, really using all the circuit here with Steve Jansen trying to sort of shortcut the apex. But over the long term, not only are you going to spend your tyres a bit more, you don't open up the apex of the corner and carry as much corner speed. And perhaps even though Steve Jansen's got the benefit of these tools, as we see that flap open once again as they head across the line at the end of lap 10, start of lap 11, through the centre S's once more. That's perhaps why Steve's just managing to sort of hold that tail of Stefan Schmidt rather than make any true dent on him at this stage, Bernie.
Yeah, well, that's all he's really doing. He's hanging in there. He just hasn't got the pace to do anything at this point in time. And looking at the lap times, folks, the last lap through, Stefan Schmidt, our race leader tonight, he did a 1:14.437. He was 1/10 of a second quicker than Steve Jansen, who did a 1:14.519. But Neil Andrews is the fastest with a 1:14.242, and he's sitting in third, and the gap back to him is about 4 seconds.
Yeah, look, already starting to see the times drop off a bit with the tyre degradation, Bernie. Steve Jansen now sitting about 0.8 behind. Yeah, it's really starting to show that the classic really technical lines that Stefan Schmidt's taking over Steve. Steve just a little bit, just a foot or two either here or there on corner entry can make a massive difference over the course of a race. Just 100th here and there. You can see Stefan through turn 1 goes all the way out to the white line on the extreme right of the track, whereas Steve's just coming those, even a metre off that can make a massive difference. And if he's doing that every single corner, Bernie, I think that's what's potentially going to win out this race.
Yeah, at the moment Stefan has this race under control. The gap was last time by 0.6 of a second, and of course as Steve gets closer, his aero is going to start getting a bit of wash on it, and that's going to affect him as well. But he's a lot closer this time through, 2 car lengths, and we'll see what he can do as they come onto the main straight this time by.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he can hold that through this technical. Again, narrow on entry there. He'll run a bit wider on exit, or a bit slower on exit, I should say, than Stefan Schmidt there. Really needs to get all 4 tyres out there onto the right-hand side there as he hits the apex hard again, perhaps compromising his run onto the back straight there as he couldn't get on the power as soon as he wants. 7/10 now. He lost 3/10 through that technical section there, Ben. I think that's what it all comes down to. He'll use the DRS now to close that gap. But Stefan Schmidt running a really clever race at this stage.
Yeah, he's definitely got this under control. As they went across the line there, the gap had gone out to 7/10, as you said there, Alex, and that's about as close as Steve can manage. And he closes up here, of course, but now we're getting into the technical part of the track, and as you said, this is where Stefan is so good, and this is what's keeping him well in control of this race tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, Bernie. The rest of the field really spread out at this stage. This is the pick of the bunch here. Neil Andrews running a lonely race there in P3. He's been running a bit higher up the field the last few weeks. Again, he's a D-class driver. My suspicion is that Neil's joined specifically for this event, Bernie, and new to the server and this car, just to take the opportunity to have a crack at the world's fastest gamer. So the other thing, as we've mentioned previously, is guys in the lower categories or the lower license classes don't get the opportunity to race these cars very often. So perhaps some of those guys are jumping up and grabbing every opportunity they can, Bernie.
And of course Neil Andrews, he's from the UK and Ireland club, and it's great to see him out there in his beautiful green livery. And you're right, it's very hard to find a decent a split of these cars, so a lot of the guys would be enjoying it, that's for sure. As we see once more the Aussie Steve Jansen is closed right up, and the Frenchman now, Stefan, we'll see how he goes as they come through this technical section. This is really where he needs to make sure he's close enough so he can capitalise on these DRS zones.
Yeah, better entry to that corner there at turn 8, Bernie. Used the full extent of the entry width of the track there. A bit narrow on exit out of turn 9 there. Again, narrow on that entry into turn 10. That'll be costing him exit speed, as you see again. Stefan Schmidt open up about half a car length there on the exit of turn 10 there through turn 11 now as they Oh, nice entry there from Steve. He's on the back now, 5/10. Hasn't been this close for a while, Bernie. Got a good run out of the final corner. He's closing up now as they cross the activation zone line now. The flap opens up. He's taking a nice tight line there, really almost looking like he's going in the pits, which is what you want to be doing here. Closes right up now. Nice tight apex there through turn 1, through turn 2, clobbering the apex curving, which he can do here. This is his moment, Bernie. This is his moment. He's going to open up that flap and go up the inside, Bernie. He's got the inside running into turn 4 here. Looks like he's got his work done there, Bernie, and Stefan Schmidt's going to tuck him behind him. Great pass at him to Steve Jansen there. He worked hard for that and made the single opportunity had a winner.
Yeah, now the thing is how if he can hang on to it out here. Stefan all over the back of him. I tell you what though, this race has caused a lot of chaos for a number of drivers. Miguel Villabos down here in 6th position. We'll get back up to where the race is. He's had to go to the pits. Jean Brezina got towed back. Hakon Grebstad, he's still in there getting repaired, and his car has taken a big hit by the looks of it. Romano Soares also has that car towed back, and the two retirements are Mohammed Alif and Pedro Quills have both retired from this race.
Yeah, I'm just watching Håkon Grebstad's incident, Bernie. He lit the rear up on exit of the centre S's there, or at least on the exit of, it wasn't turn 2, it was turn 3 there on the exit of the S's. Oh yeah, he was just on the approach to the apex of turn 3 there, Bernie, and he's just got on the gas a little early by the looks, and the car stepped out to the outside rather than the inside where he wanted to go. He's put into the wall, and he's had to pit. A real shame for Håkon there, who came out and put on a... Well, it looked like he was having a fun time anyway. He's back out there circulating now by the looks, and no doubt took advantage of that fast repair just to finish off his race.
Yeah, meanwhile, Stefan Schmidt is sitting in 2nd now, hanging on to Steve Jansen through the technical section. Of course, now Stefan is going to get the advantage of DRS, as we can see Hakon on the infield there, just getting out of the way of the leaders, and we'll see now what Stefan Schmidt can do as he gets the DRS.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the tables have turned. You know, I was sort of praising Stefan Schmidt there and potentially thinking that he was going to run away. This is the DRS flap opens up now, but all the while perhaps Steve Jansen, like we indicated earlier, perhaps managing his tyres a little better, and maybe that pressure that he put on for all those laps caused Stefan perhaps to use a bit more tyre rubber than he was expecting, and now it's literally how the tables have turned, because Stefan now, as that flap opens again on the rear wing there, he looks to be the one struggling to hang on now. Couldn't be a turnaround for an Aussie to win this race, but we haven't seen one yet in the 4 weeks we've been doing it, so we could be on for one tonight.
Yeah, it'd be great, wouldn't it? It'd be something we could all cheer about, but at the moment Steve Jansen is leading this race. We've got 8 laps remaining here, folks. Neil Andrews, he's still in 3rd as Hakon gets out of his way, and he continues on. Anders, we haven't seen much of Anders from Scandinavia, sitting in 4th, and then Tim Hendrickson from Benelux is sitting in 5th at the moment.
Yeah, great recovery from Tim after that first lap chaos. He's looking to make every post a winner from there, Bernie, making the most of the errors of others potentially. He's done a fantastic job to get back there as we jump back up to the front now. Stefan Schmidt now with the rear wing open, the DRS activated as they head now into turn 1 on lap 18 now, Bernie. Just the balance of 7 remaining here in this tight tussle for the win.
Yeah, and we're riding once again with Stefan Schmidt here as his DRS is opened and he's closing in. This is exactly what we saw Steve do, and you can see as he turned in, he got that wash and the car just pushed slightly. That released Steve Jansen there, and that's what I think's affecting these guys when they're in the tow so closely. The aeros are just getting a little bit upset.
Yeah, it's really interesting as well, Bernie. I'm watching Steve Jansen's lines through there on the entry to turn 8. He goes right out to the left, but here into turn 10, he keeps it nice and tight. It's interesting, different lines there that he's taking, that he's more comfortable with, that he feels are faster for him, you know, whereas Stefan Schmidt consistently see all 4 tyres there on the artificial surface on the outside of the corner there. No track limit incident points out there, Bernie, as he's within 7/10 there, although he didn't get the same run there. He didn't get as good a run. DRS open now. Watch him close up under DRS, Bernie. You can hear the engine really draining as it maxes out towards the end of that straight, Bernie. He only gained about a tenth there, Bernie, and so it'll be interesting to see in the second DRS zone if he can close, because he lost that tenth again through the centre S's there, Bernie. He was actually 2/10 down on where he was at the start of that back straight before the previous DRS zone, and he only gained a fraction in that second one. So I'm wondering if Stefan's tyres have hit the cliff and have fallen off, and it won't be much longer before Steve Jansen's able to run away with it.
Yeah, well, only time's really going to tell, isn't it? We've got 6 laps remaining here. The gap was 0.6 of a second last time across the start-finish line. We'll see what that is next time through. And we can see here Stefan once again closing up through the technical section. And he's a lot better through there than Steve, but Steve's still hanging on to probably about 4 or 5 car lengths here as they come back up onto the main straight, and we'll have 5 laps remaining. And you can see here now, I think that gap's going to be larger than the 0.6.
Yeah, look, he was 1 second, but he was just under it in the detection zone. So he's got the benefit of the DRS now as they cross the line with 5 laps to go now. Closes up. He didn't really close up as much as you'd want to under those conditions, Bernie. Again, he's 8.5 tenths behind as they head around out the front straight now. Oh, perhaps starting to get a little bit ragged there, Bernie, Stefan Schmidt. After leading so many laps of this race, Bernie, he's perhaps starting to feel the pressure in the closing stages.
Yeah, well, he lost 3/10 that time through. He's got to stay within that 1 second if he wants that DRS, and that's his mission at the moment. If you look at the statistics, Stefan had led for the first 14 laps of this race, and well, he's led 14 laps. Steve Jansen, he has led 5 laps of this race, and it's looking fairly good for Steve at the moment. I won't count Stefan out though, because he's really shown his credentials here tonight.
Yeah, he's been a regular here on a Saturday night for the world's fastest game over the 4 weeks that it's been running, Bernie. Let's see if he gets that. The flap comes open again, Bernie, as they head through this DRS activation zone. As they cross the line with just the 4 laps remaining now, he's not really bridging that gap. Steve Jansen doing a fantastic job as they come up to lap the Flying Dutchman, Tim Hendrickson, all the way up to P5, if you can believe it, that all is going to lap, Bernie. It just shows you the disparate nature of what this car can bring out in a field. So interesting to see how they manage the back marker and Tim Hendrickson, Benny.
Yeah, and looking at the lap times, folks, between Steve Jansen, his last time by 1:14.159, Stefan Schmidt 1:14.069. The fastest lap so far, folks, goes to Steve Jansen, a 1:13.336.
I'd suggest that was in the earlier laps where he was getting the benefit of the DRS and tow from Stefan Schmidt, I should say, as they head around on the tail end of lap 21, Bernie. Stefan Schmidt still within that magic 1 second zone by the looks of things through the detection point as he comes into the activation zone now. Will the rear flap open? No, Bernie. I stand corrected. He was outside the 1 second mark. Well, the game's changed now with just 3 laps remaining, Bernie.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've got the live telemetry up there. He was only out of that detection zone by probably about 8 thousandths of a second, maybe 1/100th of a second. It wasn't a lot, but if you look at that gap now, it's blown out to 1.4 seconds, and that's the effect of not having DRS around here. He's closing it in a little bit, 1.3 seconds, but he's still well out of DRS detection.
Yeah, well, part of it will be set up in the cars. We talked about Stefan Schmidt being better through the technical sections, but it might just be down to his driving style in conjunction with his setup. It might be that Steve Jansen's geared more to those slightly more, I should say, to those straight sections of the track, and he's used that to full advantage now. He's opened up a couple of tenths even through that technical section, so it could be Wow, that's really impressive. A really canny drive from Steve Jansen so far, and he's managed his tyres well and he's opened up a gap. There's no chance of DRS now, Bernie. They've just got 2 laps remaining to close this one out, and he's out to a 1.5 second lead.
Yeah, he's off now, and as you said, 2 laps remaining. Looking at the cars on the lead lap, we really only have 4 on the lead lap. The rest have gone down at least 1 lap, with Hakon and Raminos going down 2 laps and 3 laps respectively.
Yeah, well, that's again shows the disparate nature of what this car can do to a field, Bernie. Very difficult car to drive and master here. The 2 guys, as per the folks joining us in chat, I know Evan's in chat there, and I know he runs these cars. I had the pleasure of running in his league, or the league with him, I should say, in the Australian F1 Championship a couple of seasons ago. And he's saying that these times while the leaders are pretty good in these conditions. So I've been very impressed with how these guys have managed their race, particularly with Steve Jansen. He's shown a canny head on his shoulders as they come up around turn 12 on lap 23 to take the white flag this time round.
Yeah, and Evan actually picked Steve Jansen for the win very early on in the race, and I wasn't sure at that time, but he basically said that he was just waiting for the right time to make a move. And I'll tell you what, Evan, I think you might have been right, and Steve's now right out in front, 1.5 seconds last lap here, and it looks like round 4 may go to an Aussie, and that will be something for us all to cheer about.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just got to navigate the infield section to make that a reality, Bernie. Very impressed now as Stefan Schmidt struggling to hang on now. Just that 1.4, 1.5 second gap. Looks like Steve might have been playing a little bit of possum there, or at least managing his car and his tyres, as Stefan really ekes out a tight apex through turn 8, round the tight left-hander at turn 9, Bernie into turn 10. Again, that line that I was sort of almost critical of Steve early in the race, but he seems to have made it work for himself, Bernie, and as he comes down to turn 12 for the final time, using all that road on the outside of the entry there, got a great drive out, and he looks like he might take this one out.
Yeah, it's definitely going to go to Steve Jansen as he comes down the straight for the final time here, folks. Steve Jansen from Australia will take out round 4 of the world's fastest game of qualifiers, Australia-New Zealand split. Stefan Schmidt from France comes home in second, then third. We can see Neil Andrews here from UK and Ireland. Great drive from him. Fourth, still waiting, will be, and you can see how big that gap was, 35 seconds. Anders Brahog from Scandinavia will come home in fourth, and then fifth looks like it's going to be Tim Hendrickson from Australia.
Yeah, although I'm not sure what Tim's doing. He's lighting the rears up. He's decided, I haven't punished my rubber enough, I might just light it up on the front straight. I think he might have been lapped, or what's going on there. I'm not sure if he's crossed the line yet, actually, but Miguel Villalobos now just crossing the line in P6. Hawkon, I think, is already crossed in P8. Anyway, yeah. They're all straggling across the line now.
Yeah, Tim was down a lap, so as I was saying before, only the top 4 of the 11 starters were on the lead lap. With Anders Brahog, he was the last on the lead lap, 38 seconds down from the leader. Let's go through the final race results here, folks, so we can see who or where your favourite driver finished and who was the mover and who was a shaker here tonight. So looking at the race results, Steve Jansen takes the win from Australia, followed by Stefan Schmidt from France in second. Neil Andrews, UK and Ireland, home in third. Fourth was Anders Brahog from Scandinavia, up 2 positions. Then Tim Hendrickson. He pretty much finished where he started, in 5th position. Miguel Villalobos from DH, he's up 3 positions, and Jan Brezina from Asia also up 3 positions. So the biggest movers are shared between Miguel and Jan. Hakon Grebstad comes home in 8th from Scandinavia. Then we have Romano Soares from Brazil, lost 2 positions. and finished in ninth. Muhammad Alif from Asia, he dropped 7 positions and retired, so he's the shaker for tonight. And Pedro Martinez Quilez from Iberia also retired from tonight's race.
Yeah, those two caught up in early race incidents, of course. Tim Hendrickson and Orcon not making any movement through the field, but everyone else sort of leapfrogging one or two and making positions due to either incidents or managing to work their way through the field. But fantastic battle up front for the win. Steve Jansen, that was a really canny performance, really managing his car and his tyres throughout the race to take out a fantastic win for the local club, Bernie.
Yeah, and it was quite an entertaining race, wasn't it, between those two? And it was interesting when we saw the tide turn. To me, it looked like Stefan had that race under control, but as soon as Steve pounced and made that move, Stefan didn't have much left in the tank to be able to answer that challenge.
No, that's exactly right. I thought, like you, I thought Stefan was driving a really clean and consistent race, and if anything, Steve was just hanging on. But then, how wrong was I in that? It looked like Steve was just playing possum and waiting for the right time to really take an advantage or drive his advantage home. Really managed his car well. Obviously had the grip then to almost take, it looked like, if I could hop in the drivers or the helmet of Stefan Schmidt there for a while, that he got caught by surprise that this guy was suddenly not only able to pass him, but then hold and break the draft and the DRS factor, Bernie. So, yeah, really impressed with Steve Jansen's drive tonight.
Yeah, and it wasn't all one way either. Steve had to work pretty hard to make that move. It took him 14 laps to do it, and if we look at the statistics here, fastest lap 1:13.336 to Steve Jansen. Stefan Schmidt's fastest lap a 1:13.602. If we look at how many laps led, Stefan Schmidt led the first 14 laps and Steve Jansen the last 10. So Stefan really led most of this race, but he just didn't seem to have the pace once Steve got through.
Yeah, that's right. It was really a race in two halves, wasn't it? Almost split by the race distance halves themselves. But yeah, really fascinated to see how that one evolved. You got so much in your mind about how to work the elements of this car and car management and tyre management, then to have the head on your shoulders to be able to think through strategy at the same time. Really impressed. Yeah, well done to the two up front.
Yeah, so the final gap there was 1.448 seconds between first and second, and then 10.6 seconds went down to third to Neil Andrews from UK and Ireland. And as I said before, 38.5 seconds down to fourth to Anders Brothog. I can't pronounce that, in fourth. But anyway, Alex, that's pretty much our wrap of the World's Fastest Gamer Australia-New Zealand split qualifier. A lot of words there, brought to you by McLaren. And what did you think of the 4 weeks?
Oh, I really enjoyed it, Bernie. I love the concept. I really love the way that people are actually open to the concept of bridging professional sport, traditional athletes and the esports, and this is a fine example of that crossover, leading to an actual career path beyond sitting at a console or a computer screen, and taking that to the next level and really understanding and getting a glimpse into that world of the F1 circuit. Really pleased to be a part of it, and I hope that this is just the first step, and we'll see much more like it.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see how it goes, but I think McLaren's on the right thing here. They didn't focus just on one simulation. They're focused across consoles, the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One. They've gone and looked at R-Factor 2, iRacing. Not sure if Project Cars, I think they were involved. And they've spread across the whole sim racing community and got the best from every platform and brought them in. So that's the way I think they need to do it. I won't get political, but I think supercars could have something to learn by this, although they don't have the budget. But we won't go there, will we?
No, look, I think you're right though. What it says to me in the fact that they were cross-platform is that they were actually authentic and genuine about wanting to find someone to fill a role. Now, an F1 team, they are going to want the best of the best. This wasn't a token effort. This was a genuine search for someone to come in and perform a genuine role. They want the best guy there. They want to genuinely find someone to help them win races in Formula One. We said it in one of the broadcasts previously. They don't get a lot of testing time, so they're relying more and more on simulators to, send feedback to and from the track during live practice sessions. They get feedback from the driver, they send it back to the engineering team in the factory, run it up on the simulator, send feedback back to the track, and they make changes. They are genuine about what they're doing, and it just, I think this is a fantastic element to our e-sport. And like I said, I'm hoping it's the doorway or the gateway to many more.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see what happens, but either way, whoever wins, they will be the world's fastest gamer, because all these people, as I said, have come from all different platforms, all different simulations and games, or whatever you want to call them, and it's going to be very interesting. I'm hoping McLaren actually puts together something so we can actually watch the finals. Now that would be something similar to a GT Academy, something like that, but we'll see what they have in store for us. As far as I'm going to change tune now. Did you want to say something before I move on?
I was just going to say, I hope you get the rights to broadcast it, mate, because I'll be on that like a rash.
Yeah, I think the rights to that will be going to RaceSpot for sure, or someone really big like the F1 channel or something. I don't know.
You think they'd get a professional bit of coverage, like on TV and all the rest of it. So it'd be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it'd also be good for them to present them to real media as well. But anyway, let's see what happens. Very exciting. As far as the rest of the weekend goes, folks, tomorrow night we've got the Australasian Super Skips. Kevin Anderson and myself will be calling that at 8:45 p.m. GMT plus 11. And of course, you'll be out there having a run, Alex.
Looking forward to that, Bernie. Road Atlanta. Spent a bit of time on track there this week. I'll tell you what, the official racing's been elbows out all week. Been quite brutal at times, but that's not what we'll see tomorrow night in the Australasian Super Skips. The ANZ Club Championship, open to all, of course, but it's a great culture of drubs and drivers in that league, and the on-track action should be well contested, but in the right spirit. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be very interesting. And then, of course, Monday night, 9:15. Hang on. Oh, it's out of control again. Hang on a minute. The closed credits should not run that quickly because I haven't finished talking. It's almost like the Logies, when they start playing the music to get you off. But I was going to say Monday night, 9:15 p.m, you'll be joining me once again. We've got the Skip Barber Monday Night Lights, and that's a series I'm very excited about, and I think the word's starting to get out because the strength of internationals joining us down under seems to be growing, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it sure is, Bernie. I had the chance to drive in the US European strength of field race during the week. Really strong 4K plus strength of field there. Be interesting to see what this track brings out for our big race on Monday night. Looking forward to calling all the action on track again.
Yeah, so that's our lineup for the next couple of nights, folks, but hopefully you'll be able to join us tomorrow night. But if you can't, I hope you have a fantastic weekend and a start to your work week until we catch up again. And that's pretty much wraps us up here, Alex, and it's time for us to go and have a bit of a rest. I guess you can start lumbering up or limbering up, whatever you want to call it, for Bathurst tomorrow, as I will. But I've been thinking about it today because I've got no beer, and I'm thinking Bathurst without beer is like trying to play cricket in the snow.
Exactly right. without the zinc cream even. So, yeah, no, you better find either a late night or an early morning botlo to quench your thirst, mate.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take matters into my own hands, I think. But until then, folks, if you're watching Bathurst tomorrow, hope you really enjoy it. I think it's going to be a really amazing race tomorrow. If the top 10 shootout had anything to do with it tonight. But anyway, folks, I could talk all night, but I won't. On behalf of Alex McKellar, I'm Bernie Weemers. Thanks for joining us tonight. Have a great weekend, and hopefully we'll have your company again soon. Good night.